Well, welcome everybody. This is a treat that we can be able to do this. We typically we're doing this on a monthly basis, and we've shifted to about once a quarter at this point, doing live demos of our Sifted software and the platform. I feel like it gives a really good kind of no pressure environment to learn what Sifted does and how we do it differently. Kevin, you want to introduce yourself, and we'll go ahead and get started?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Kevin Miller. I am the VP of Data Insights here at Sifted, which is a fancy way of saying the analytics and data science teams. But a lot of the dashboards and the data that you're going to see in this demo come from my team and a lot of the analyses that we run for all of our customers, and we've productized a lot of those analyses into dashboards or tools for you to use on a more scalable approach. So excited to be here and love doing these live demos here with Caleb.
Yeah. I'm just hit a message to the chat window for everybody. Hopefully it went to everybody. I can have a problem with that, but there's two real main links to that message. The first of which is if you like what you see and you want to see a personalized demo, maybe with your own data or a one-on-one conversation with somebody here at Sifted, we'd be happy to book some time specific to your account, your business, whether you're a 3PL or a manufacturer or e-commerce business. Each shipper has individual needs. And click on that link if you want to book some time with us. We'd love it. If you're an existing client, you want to reach out to your CSMs, you can feel free to do that at the cxo@sifted.com. And then the last link I think is really cool. We do a really good job. The marketing team, people that are not on this call but have set everything up to make this call a success, has done a really good job pushing out great newsletters, insights, industry changes. There's a lot happening within transportation, and I highly recommend that you subscribe to that. But let's go ahead and get started here. I think ultimately what we'll do is we'll start with what pain points typical shippers have and how Sifted is really trying to solve that. So I think it comes down to, and Kevin, you feel free to offer any color commentary here, but when I talk to shippers, there is a significant lack of visibility on the data. And in that data, in the invoice data from your carriers, FedEx or UPS or USPS, there are a number of improvements that can or should be made in your business. Sifted's technology does a really good job. It's the reason why our name is Sifted, but to sift through that data to help determine what needs your time and attention. And let's fish where the fish are. And we'll show some specific examples as far as how we analyze that data, revert that data back to you so that you can be able to make better informed decisions in your business. Kevin, anything you want to add there before I move on?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest value adds that we here at Sifted provide people is, you're in a world where a lot of the data can come through PDFs, or it might even come through in these very, very large Excel files or something like that, where trying to do formulas or trying to do anything with that data takes up all of the resources on your computer. And it's really hard to get a clear view of, especially if you are a multi-carrier shipper, getting data from one carrier to the next and comparing the two can be really difficult because it's almost like comparing two different languages. But at Sifted, we normalize all of the carrier data so that you can view all of them together as a holistic view. And you don't have to get stuck in what we call Excel hell, where your computer just freezes and it takes forever to do anything to get valuable insights or know, like what Caleb was saying, what to do about your operational behavior or what's going on with my shipping. That's one of the biggest value adds that we add at Sifted is giving that simplistic view of here's all your data. Go ahead and sift through it and figure out what you need to do, and we'll give you recommendations and things like that. But just having that freedom to mine your own data without getting stuck in Excel is super valuable.
Absolutely. And I think there's two things here. Number one, if you have questions, drop them into the Q&A. I'll keep my eye on the Q&A box, and we'll go through those questions and address them. Chances are, if you've got a question in your mind, somebody else on the call has that same question, and it would be super valuable for you to ask it. So don't be afraid to ask questions. We'll stop and address them as it comes up. But if Sifted really is a data analytics organization and absorbing carrier data or invoice data, the number one question we often get asked is how do we connect, if I'm a shipper, how do I connect my data into Sifted system? Doing so is really simple. I think it's like one of the best parts about working with us is the integration is like next to none. We send you a secure link whereby you log in to your UPS or FedEx.com account, your primary carrier. It's 30 seconds. That's all you have to do. Our system will automatically start pulling historical data billing files as long as we have admin access. We normalize all that data from multiple data languages to Kevin's point. And then we do something what's really cool, which is benchmarking, but we do benchmarking on steroids that really shows specifically where you're off and how you can improve, subject to other shippers similar in size, similar industries. And we not only do that from like a contract standpoint, we're looking for improvements on rates, but we're doing that like holistically. And I'll give an example of time in transit. I'll get into that and we'll show that dashboard, but that's a really cool way in which we're taking data from other industries or similar industries to you and comparing it back to you to say, this is how this and your peer group is comparing to you. I'll touch on this really briefly. The parcel shipping world is like uber complex. You've got two carriers pretty much that rule and dominate the market, and that's FedEx and UPS. They have pretty draconian, difficult contracts or pricing agreements that they put in place. And I thought this was really interesting. This is the average revenue per piece or per shipment. And check out what it's been doing in the last couple of years. The carriers are making more money on your accounts than they ever have before. And they're doing a really good job giving you $1, and when you're not looking, they're pulling $2 from your back pocket. And we can get into some ways in which and how they're doing that, but ultimately, this is what we're navigating through. There's a lot of questions that individual shippers and 3PLs have. I would say that when you go to market and look for help in this, there are consultants that typically cover two main areas: rate audit, rate negotiation, and parcel audit. Sifted goes through and really optimizes that back-end data to look for all areas of opportunity, both internally and externally. And I'll get into some examples as far as how that works. But again, consultants answer a fraction of the questions. This is what Sifted answers. I'd say let's spend the rest of the time diving through the software and showing you how we do what we do. Kevin, anything you want to add there?
No, I think it's really important to understand that, the logistics space is a lot more than just rates. You can save almost as much money improving your operations and understanding what to pinpoint and where to focus, because every business is unique, like you mentioned earlier, but it's more than just rates. It's a lot more than just rates.
Yeah.
And we are here to give that holistic approach so that there is no savings on the table left because you're already optimized at the highest level possible. That's what we say is our zero savings approach. Is there shouldn't be any savings left on the table because you should be performing at your best possible, and that's our goal, is to help you achieve that.
Yeah. This is the page in which we'll send for bring data in. It's really simple. You select which carrier you want, you move forward from there. Looks like we got a question that came through is when the shipper has multiple origin points or DCs. Great question. Yeah. So once we identify and bring in that parcel data, let me show you what we do with it. And Ricky, I'll get to your question on the DCs. We'll go through kind of a DC mapping of visualization of that data and looking for areas of opportunity there. On multi-carrier too, you can select individual carriers and looking at it multi-carrier as well. But one of the first things we do when we pull in data is we benchmark it, and what we call a sifted score. Sifted score goes through and identifies both operationally and contractually where you're weak and where you need to improve. It can be really complicated, and so we like to boil it down kind of like a credit score. And to Kevin's point, even if you get your credit score at 880 and perfect, it's not going to stay at 880. Our software helps you stay at that perfect score. So we're going to look at contracts all the way down to operational and distribution, ways in which I would say shippers are making self-inflicted pain in their own business and they might not realize it. I'll go through and we'll just skip to that, Ricky, to your question on distribution, which is when the shipper has multiple origin points and DCs. This is our mapping to showcase it. Kevin, do you want to go through this just briefly and I can highlight and select anything you'd like?
Yeah, you bet. And this is an example where we can see that this customer is mainly shipping out of that one location in Cranford. They do have another location in Cleveland, but they're both on the East Coast. So they have quite a few of our West Coast shipments or even the Midwest. You can click on each one of those top sender cities, which is what you would probably identify as those origin points or DCs. But you can start to see where it gets inefficient. In this case, they're both kind of in the same side of the country, but we've had some cases where people will have a distribution center in Denver and then a distribution center in, let's say, Memphis, and they're shipping packages to Memphis from Denver, where they're just not optimizing their multiple origin points or DCs. This is a really great way to look at it very quickly. The thing that I like to call out about this particular dashboard is that zones by package volume, because to be the most efficient shipper, you want to get those zones below or at a 4. So when we see that that zone 6 is the second highest point, I can see where all of those shipments are going. And we can see that a lot of it is in the Midwest. So would a distribution center closer to the Midwest instead of in Cleveland make more sense? You can even drill down by carrier and to see where, like, what services are we using? Are we using the right services to the right areas? We've seen a lot of times that people will do next day air to a zone 2, which is really expensive, honestly. Next day air is one of the most expensive services you can use. And if you're going next day air, you can usually get it there in less than 2 days, even shipping it ground. So you could save yourself, 60% on a package instead of sending it to those. So out of 4,000 packages, we're looking at that average cost per pack right here that Caleb was showing at $36. But if I were to use a ground package, it would be at $11. So we would save roughly $25 per package, just doing some really quick back the napkin math there. Understanding that sending it zone 2 is not going to be efficient. If you need to send it that way, we understand there are cases where you might be shipping, like raw meat or something. It needs to get there next day. But this is where Caleb was talking about that self-inflicted pain and just being able to drill down into the different zones, different services, even the different carriers is going to be very important for your own business. This is something that would take you a long time to do with those files that we get from the carriers. But here with our dashboard, you can do it very quickly and start to identify where should I focus.
Ricky, we hope that answered your question. Feel free to drop another one in if it didn't, or you want to provide any more color commentary to it. I think one of the other areas that Sifted does a really good job on visibility is in something that the carriers like to make muddy, where they make the waters a little bit murky, and that is fees. There's over 150 accessorial fees, and the logic in how and which they charge those fees change on a regular basis. And seeing all of your individual fees in one spot with multiple carriers where we're normalizing all of those fees into buckets, I think is extremely helpful. So let's just isolate additional handling, for example. Here's all of the additional or all of the fees that are being charged right now. You can be able to right click and say, hey, look, I want to see everything in this portion and how many different additional handling sub surcharges that they're actually charging me. And it helps to really identify, number one, are they applying the right discounts? If you have discounts on certain fees, are they applying them correctly? Are they applying them across the board or in subcategories of those fees? The other part that I really find interesting when I talk to clients is when they might not even be aware that they're shipping certain things out, such as oversize or overmax. these fees can be massively large that can suck product or profit margin right out of the door. And a lot of shippers might not be totally familiar with it. I can jump into some other items around the fees, but Ricky, it looks like you had a question on that, which is multimodal. We do have LTL dashboards that we can get into and discuss, but primarily we're focused on parcel shipping, anything that would go FedEx, UPS, USPS, on track, even emerging Amazon that's coming out, is covered primarily under our tools here. We do have LTL visibility, but the majority of what we do and what we're going to be covering is parcel. Any questions, or Kevin, I'm sorry, any comments you'd like to be able to make on the accessorials and what makes it powerful to go through that, like address corrections or anything else?
Yeah, I would say that we've seen people, we're all busy. It's really hard to stay on top of all of the different things, and that's why the newsletter is so important. Is we'll do that work for you and let you know what's going to apply to your business. But a lot of times with peak season, or now we would call it the demand season, the carriers have changed that name. You're going to see that your discounts don't apply to those particular fees, and so they continue to add. When I say they, the carriers will continue to add fees and services wherever they can to capture more revenue per piece. They've got to run a business too, just like you, but we want to make sure we can mitigate that. And the best way to do that is with a, a dashboard like this, where you can see like, hey, my additional handling has gone up a lot over the last couple of months.
Yeah.
Is that because of the demand surcharges? Is what's going on with this? This isn't normal. I should be monitoring this, or even to the delivery area surcharge. You might be delivering to a zip code that just got added to that fee structure, and they change those all the time. So keeping up on top of it, they added a new delivery area surcharge called remote. So it's really important to keep an eye out on all of these different changes. The question we just got is, how long does it take the dashboard to populate the shipping data once the logins provide? Is it immediate? It's not immediate because we do have to pull that data down. There are some files and different things that we've got to pull in. We like to validate that the information is correct and good. We don't want to send you wrong information, since data is key with our business. So it's not immediate, but it is within 48 hours. So you do get to see it pretty quickly, and you'll get a sifted score. You'll get these LI dashboards. If you want to see a proof of concept with your own data, we're definitely going to be pulling in all of your pieces of information. We can start to even have conversations about what you should be looking for. How does it apply to your specific business? What fees are you getting hit with it that may surprise you? But yes, it's not immediate, but it is pretty quick.
One other call out for data on that side is, once the data is linked, it's set, which means you don't have to go back and relink it or anything along those lines. The carrier's billing files get updated, and we're automatically linked at that point to pull in those billing files and replicate it here in the Sifted system. Also, from multi-carrier, if you have multiple carriers, normalizing that data and putting it back in the system here, it happens automatically. There isn't anything that you have to do once you sign up. Okay, so the last thing, or a couple of things I'd like for us to spend a little bit more of time on, is really around just a high overview of spend trends, and I'm going to get into modeling. Modeling is a huge area in which our clients, Sifted clients, really like and utilize Sifted, which is, it takes it to that next step. Everything we've been talking about here has been on dashboarding, visualizations, and understanding what might necessarily be broken, what needs your time and attention. The next stage from that is, what can I do about it? And if I do change this, how much would that cost or save me? We'll get into that as well. Our spend overview here is a really good overall high picture of what spend is currently happening in your business or 3PL, in what category with what carriers, and more importantly, how is it impacting your business? So you've got the trends, which I love, seeing trends over time, and the more data you pump into the Sifted platform, the better it gets. those trends really show your average cost per pack over time. And I bet if you're a shipper, you're listening to this, you've got shipments that um, you've gone through, you've probably negotiated contracts, but pricing is still really, really hard to get some contracts in place and to make sure that it's maximized. Basically, the connection between negotiating a contract and actually seeing the savings in real life, I think is really important here. And we got a question that came through. Can Sifted help negotiate contracts? Yes. That's the short answer. Sifted has a phenomenal logistics intelligence team that can help analyze from your data to helping, okay, I see that I can make improvements on my UPS or my FedEx agreements. How can I actually go and do that? And we have a couple different flavors for that. But we do a really, really solid job at providing cost savings associated to rate negotiation services.
And I would add on top of that that it's not just about rates, it's also about the strategy of what your business is doing now, making sure that that contract is matching the behaviors that your business is following today. So a lot of times people, the negotiation is always a game of give and take with the carriers, which is totally normal. But making sure that you're giving the right terms and taking the right terms is going to be absolutely vital to your business. So we take it a little step further, other than focusing on rates, but also focus on strategy behind those rates and what's going to be the best for your business. And that's how we attain, you know, higher than average savings for rate negotiations with our customers.
There's a couple questions that came through on just barely, which is, do you support DHL Express carrier? And you have visibility of tracking delivery detail, actual versus projected. And then lastly, do you have any way to see predictive analytics? Kevin, you want to jump on the DHL, and then I'll talk about the tracking portion here?
Yeah, so I would have to double check on the DHL Express carrier for some things, but I do know that we can adjust some of that data and at least show you the visibility. A lot of the modeling tools and some of like this transit tool, we don't get that data from DHL Express. So there is limited functionality with DHL Express, is the short end of it. But visibility is in the dashboards. Do you have visibility on tracking delivery time actuals versus projected? Yes, we do. That's what this dashboard is. Caleb will go ahead and let you kind of show and navigate through here so you can showcase that.
Yeah. So when we go through and pull in the data files, we also retrack every single shipment that you've had going out. We compare the actual delivery times versus the projected delivery times. Sifted files for refunds where that's available. If a service failure was hit on a particular service or an account where the carrier said, "Hey, I promised to get it here by this time." But more importantly, this takes it another step further to say, look, I want to see how I compare as a UPS shipper to other UPS shippers in my same industry. I can see my overall industry and days in transit. So my FedEx versus everybody else's FedEx. I'm a day later with FedEx and how they're servicing my account versus others. And I can see my overall on-time delivery percentage as a group, comparative, or individually. And this really helps to really determine, okay, if I'm going to have conversations with the carriers, FedEx and UPS, I need to have data-backed conversations that really provide value in what I'm going to ask for from them next. We see a lot of shippers who get into trouble when they try to have an emotional conversation with FedEx or UPS, which is, give me what I want, or I'm going to pull my business and give it to somebody else. That is an emotional response. This gets into much more, let's give you the ammunition, the details, the information, the structure, to have an unemotional, data-driven response to say, this is what I need from you, and this is why I need it, and to be backed by the right data. The last thing that I'll touch on here is really network optimization, and some of the models that we've got pre-built, ready to go. Package level optimization or package modeling optimization is one. I would say this network optimization is another. Contract negotiation models is a third. But let's say you're a shipper, you've got um, uh, your zone map where we're talking about where you're shipping heavily to different parts of the country. and they're further away. Therefore, it's costing you more money and it's staying in transit longer than it should. This allows for you as an individual shipper to say, look, if I were to add a new ship from location, a new 3PL where I can store and they can stock and ship out product for me, or if I've got a location, but I need to know which one I need to ship from more frequently, this allows for me to be able to say, let's add Louisville as a potential location and instantly be able to identify if that's a right fit for me. I've got $1.2 million here. The system's re-rated those shipments as if Louisville has been added to the distribution, saving me an estimated $439,000 a year. But more importantly, check out the transit day reduction. It's getting there twice as fast. Twice as fast, and I'm saving almost $500,000. I'm happy. It's these kind of models that we run on a regular basis with Sifted that I would say if you are interested in any way, click on that link in the chat window and book a personalized demo with us. We'd be happy to go through it.
Yeah, and there's a couple different models that I will touch on. I know we're running short on time, but we do this not only for the network optimization, we do it for picking the right service types. We do it for contracts. So re-rating some of your discounts or different things there to have that at your fingertips. And we also do it with packaging. So identifying which fees are hitting your packages the most. Is your build weight and your entered weight close, or is it too far apart? And how do I fix that with maybe splitting a package into two or fixing the dimensions of a package? All of these modeling tools are what we would consider our predictive analytics, to answer your question, the anonymous question there. And they're fantastic ways to quickly get insights and data without having to go through massive efforts with your own internal teams or even analytics teams yourselves, which can take several weeks. It's already part of the package there that you get when you're an advanced or pro client, and it's really easy to get those values and action items out of those tools.
Couple of just quick pieces here, and then I'll leave it open for questions. But we're running right on time here. Sifted has some new updates, which is push email notifications. And I really recommend that if anybody is an active Sifted user, go on and flip those notifications on. And I think it's live with a subscription. So if you're interested in joining, this isn't a system that you just have to log into and do all the hunting. It's going to alert you when something needs to be addressed and needs your time and attention. The next thing here is you can set notifications that I would say are a little bit more customized. And there's also a whole new UI that is currently being built right now, which we cannot wait to show. I think there's going to be some really amazing jaw-dropping stuff that's going to be announced from Sifted in the next little bit. I would say if you are looking to select a partner, you want to know and make sure that that partner continues to grow with your business and continues to invest in tech that will help support it. Sifted's really at the forefront of that.
Yeah, and I would say the primary goal too of this new UI, which we're building, is giving you a peace of mind experience. We're always on, we're always watching, we're going to be notifying you. You can create your own custom notifications too, if you'd like. But knowing that we're here to help you and we'll notify you when there's an issue, and we'll give you recommendations on how to save even more money so that when you see those potential savings show up, you can go back to your bosses or your organizations and say, look what I've been able to do. And yes, Sifted was this tool to help me get there, but if we can help save $500,000, you're going to be the hero every single year. And it's going to be, like I said, we're going to try to get that savings dollar amount up to zero so that people know that you are doing the best you can possibly do compared to your peers, compared to the best in class. There's going to be a lot more what we call, people understand as benchmarking, but it's operational. Like how do I compare against other businesses in my same industry or other shippers similar to me, and making sure that I'm being optimal with my shipping behaviors.
Yeah. Yeah, this has been great. Thank you everybody so much. We're right at the top of the hour, or right at the top of the time that we've got. If anybody has any additional questions, Kevin and I can hang on and answer anything, but thank you everybody. If again, those links are in that chat window, click on them, interact with us. We'd be happy to help out. We hope this has been very useful and helpful for you all.